Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, distinguished guests, and folks of all stripes, put your hands together for the Space Cadet Sports Podcast. Houston, we have Paul Salazar Jr.
Hey y'all, welcome back to the Space Cadet Sports Podcast, your Houston Astros podcast for die-hard Houston Astros fans from a die-hard Houston Astros fan. I'm Paul Salazar Jr., your favorite die-hard Houston Astros fan podcaster. I'm a comedy writer, Los Angeles bartender, and card-carrying member of the Hollywood non-elite. I'm a Houston native, and I have the receipts to prove it. I once did Midsummer Night's Dream at the Houston Shakespeare Festival at Herman Park. My little brother probably fell asleep and rolled down the hill. I spent the last decade or so as a comedy writer here in Los Angeles, and now I'm podcasting. I finally made it. Welcome to said podcast. This is the Space Cadet Sports Podcast that was born out of the Space Cadet Sports blog. It's lovingly what my brother calls a Paul Broadpod blog. Almost got through it. Paul Broadpod blog. I started the Space Cadet Sports podcast, with the perspective of actually being a fan of the Houston Astros and actually liking them. I feel like the media is really, doom and gloom about the Astros or just straight up hating all the time. So this is, trying to report on the Astros with some love from a fan's perspective, from a diehard perspective. Well, obviously, not just here for the hate, but, not wanting to be a homer either, trying to find the reason in the midst of all these hot takes. We're recording here late at night. It's late night with sports. My brain is melted. Late night with Space Cadet. Welcome, folks. Just jumping onto the podcast after this primetime game. Usually, lately, I've been doing a podcast after the series to recap the series, mixing it up tonight. Obviously, was a big win against the Baltimore Orioles. In Baltimore, the Astros winning 6-0 in primetime. So that was great. Obviously, there's a bunch of other news that is just kind of swirling around. Thought I'd jump on the podcast as I was about to, as I finished writing up this article, or not even finishing up writing it, but when I was going through the outline of it, I'm like, maybe I'll just jump on the pod here. So let's kind of get to it here. I should also mention I'm always joined by my co-host and co-producer, the Ross and my Frazier. Carla the dog is here with me. Almost forgot about her. Did not want to do that, of course, for her fans out there. She may get on mic from time to time here with her own hot takes. But today, tonight, I should say. That's right, it's late night. We're going to discuss the Orioles and Astros game where the Astros won 6-0. We're going to discuss Alex Bregman and what is going on with him. Ben Gamel, talk about Taylor Scott a little bit. And musical guest Scott Servais is here. Now, Scott Servais is not on the pod tonight. He is very angry somewhere right now, but let's get to it. The game recap, folks. It was officially spaghetti time. Spaghetti time is here. Put on those bibs and start the music from Lady and the Tramp. It's been a tough season for Spaghetti. We have lovingly been calling it spaghetti time every time he starts, but it's officially getting to the point of his season where spaghetti time is just that much more delicious. Spencer Arrighetti did a great job tonight. Kind of a coming out party for Spencer Arrighetti in this game on prime time, getting some attention that he deserves for turning this season around. He's had 6 scoreless innings in this game. The team as a whole combined for a 3-hit shutout, but Spencer Arrighetti definitely gets the headlines, battling Corbin Burns and outlasting him and having just a great performance. He struck out 6 batters. He may have had 1 base runner in each of the first 4 innings, but Arrighetti sent down the last 8 batters faced. It seems like that's kind of been the script for Astros starting pitchers this season, is that the first time through the lineup, they definitely don't do their best, but as they go through the lineup a second time, potentially even a third time, sometimes they get better. It isn't just Ronel Blanco. It isn't just Framber Valdez. It isn't just Justin Verlander. Arrighetti and Hunter Brown have been jumping on that as well lately. So it was good to see Arrighetti do a great job in this primetime game. Hearing Adam Wainwright, just speaking lovingly of Spencer Arrighetti for what he's done, not just about his hair, but also about his contributions on the field. It was a good time to be an Astros fan. It was good to see that young man go out there, that fellow baseball nerd, go out there and pitch so well and get a good performance for these Houston Astros and contribute to an amazing dominant win. Just to keep moving ahead with pitching here, let's go ahead and talk about how the bullpen did in this game as well. After Arrighetti pitched his 6 innings, Sean Dubin came in as long relief. The Astros were up pretty big, so Joe Espada went for Sean Dubin to pitch 2 innings in the game. Sean Dubin picked up 2 walks and 2 strikeouts, but got out of the game without obviously keeping the shutout intact, not picking up any runs. And after Dubin's 2-inning outing, Caleb Ferguson came in, pitched the last inning of the game, let up a walk, but did not let any runs score. As of late, Caleb Ferguson has definitely done better than he has his first couple of outings with the Houston Astros. He still has this bad taste in my mouth, and it's not just because of, him coming from the Yankees or me being silly about the trade. There's just, when he is up there, he hasn't inspired the most confidence in me. His results lately have been good. He definitely looks like he is sharpening up a little bit and having better outings, but they're just, sometimes he makes me so nervous. I don't know what there is to it, but it was good to see him have another good outing, even if he did let up that walk. Sean Dubin as well. Sometimes in this season, Dubin's made me really nervous. He did get a couple walks in this outing, but he did look a little shaky at times, but he did get out of it. No earned runs. A little bit of sweat, but no drama there. You'd really have to give it to this team for going into Baltimore, doing a good job in this first game here, really setting up the other starting pitchers and the bullpen well going into this long series. Moving over to offense real quick. This was obviously a good offensive game. I've mentioned it before, this run of games against great opponents. The Astros are definitely going to need 6 runs regularly, at least until they get out of Philadelphia. This offense that has been struggling a bit, this lineup that has been injured a little bit, is going to have to find some way within themselves to score a lot of runs against the Orioles. Well, initially against the Red Sox, which they didn't score enough runs throughout that series to win that series, but now that they're playing the Orioles, they need to score 6 runs, and when they play the Phillies and later on the Royals, obviously those high run totals are what we are looking for. And this is not me saying that I have no confidence in the pitching. This is me just saying that offense needs to go out there and they need to find some ways to score some runs. And against these teams, to better safe than sorry, they need to keep the pressure on in the offense and score runs when they have runners in scoring position, and that is what they did in this game. In this game, the team was 5-9 with runners in scoring position. They only left 6 on base. Definitely not. You never want to leave any men on base, but obviously knocking in 5 runs, I should say 5 hit, knocking in. They knocked in 6 runs, but hitting 5 hits with in 9 attempts is a great sign, and also it was more than enough to win the game. But to see that they could kind of win this with station-to-station offense without a big home run, was incredible. It's what they need to do, because obviously if they don't have Tucker coming back soon, if they're going to have, Bregman dealing with an injury, you have Jordan, you have Altuve, you have Yonner there that you can depend on for some power. But if those guys are going to not hit a home run in a game, you're going to need to find a way to score some runs, and that's going to come from timely hitting with runners in scoring position, which has been kind of a tough thing for the Astros on this season. I think we're just spoiled as fans. We're used to what their offense used to be. We're even and not even what their offense completely was. I feel like it's almost this kind of this rose-colored glasses. I feel like a lot of times in the past, at least post 2019, the Astros have struggled at times with runners in scoring position. They're trying to beat these allegations this season, and they do fairly well with runners in scoring position. It's just when, this year it seems like half of these games they lose, at one point the bases were loaded with, and somebody struck out or popped out to the warning track. And that kind of an experience definitely leads to frustration with fans. But I think that, while that has happened more than we would like, they still are a pretty good team with runners in scoring position on average, and they're getting better as time goes on. So it is promising to see them have games like this, especially against a team like Baltimore, even if their offense isn't going too well. To see the Astros get their offense together and pick up this team and score a lot of runs is going to be necessary going forward in this series against the Orioles. One of the heroes of this game that we wanted to mention is Ben Gamel. Ben Gamel is a waiver wire ad from the New York Mets. He has kind of bounced around between the Yankees, the Padres, and the Mets in his career. He is now here with us as a new addition to the Houston Astros. We'll get to him a little more. In this game, he definitely was a hero of the game. He went 2 for 3. He did work a walk. He only struck out once, and he did get 2 RBIs on this game. The other guy, the other double RBI guy here is going to be Shea Whitcomb, who was starting at third base in this game for Alex Bregman, who was DHing. Shea Whitcomb went 1 for 4 with 2 RBIs. And the game was fairly chill until the fourth inning when Jordan got a big hit, got an RBI, and Ben Gamel kept the hits going in that fourth inning. Really broke the game open. This offense looked good in this game. Obviously, you want to go 9 for 9 with runners in scoring position. You don't want to leave any men on base, but that's a video game. That isn't what actually baseball is. I understand, a lot of people can be a little thrown off by the Astros' performances with runners in scoring position. I'm sitting here and almost every game I tell you how the Astros do with runners in scoring position. It is something we think about. However, 5 and 9 in a game like this, we don't want to completely nitpick here. We could, if this was like a 2-hour podcast, we could do that. But that isn't. Sorry, Carla just walked into the room and completely threw me off. But I guess she's here for that. She wants to completely nitpick. But that if we wanted to really get into the performance of the offense, we could kind of go through it with a fine-tooth comb at this point. But when they win the game, it seems a little silly to go through it that well. We obviously know the struggles of this team. This team is struggling to get to find consistency in the corner outfield and in the bottom of the lineup. Somebody like Ben Gamel coming onto this team might be something that is going to be a bit of a salve here. We obviously have Justin Verlander back to help the pitching with the 6-man rotation, but is Ben Gamel the answer to the Astros lineup issues here? So I thought I'd look into it. I'm obviously not a scout. I very much tell you that I am a fan. I do my own research on the show, so of course, I feel confident in things that I know about baseball. Things, I know stats. I'm constantly on Baseball Savant, Baseball Reference. I read a lot of things, but I don't want to ever portray myself as an expert, because I know that there are a lot of experts out there that work really hard, to to really speak to their expertise, and I am a fan and observer. So this is my own little scouting report of Ben Gamel. I do not want to say that this is gospel. This is the book that the league wrote on him or anything like this. But just so that other fans out there can know a little bit more about Ben Gamel, this is what that is. And now that I've given way too long of a disclaimer before what I said, let's get to Ben Gamel here. He's a left-handed right fielder. We are looking for a strong-armed, actual right fielder in the organization. Obviously, with Chas McCormick struggling, with Mauricio Dubon generally being a defensive substitution, with Chas McCormick going from having a big boy season last year to really struggling this year to find that power. The Astros called up Pedro Leon. The Astros called up Trey Cabbage. They haven't really found an answer at right field since Kyle Tucker has been injured. And it is absolutely wild that the Houston Astros have found so much success since Kyle Tucker has been injured, despite the fact that they really have not had a solution defensively or even offensively in right field since Kyle Tucker has been out. This team has really much carried that spot. And it's kind of wild because Jose Abreu was DFA'd because we could not carry a goose egg at first base. And, the give credit to the guys that have come in and played right field, even though they have not given that much, that they haven't given the slugging power, they haven't completely given the strong arm and right defensively. They've given enough to keep the Astros in games and to keep the Astros in a postseason chase. So you do have to give credit to the guys that have been performing. You have to give credit to Dana Brown for finding a way to kind of tape together an outfield. You don't anticipate all these injuries. You definitely don't anticipate Tucker being out for as long as he had after you heard that the x-rays were negative for a break. So, the Astros might have found an answer with a real right fielder here with Ben Gamel. Ben Gamel also has had a very great WRC plus throughout his whole minor league career. If you kind of look at his stats on Fangraphs, you can look at all of his stats through the minors. There's a lot to sort through. I kind of am looking at WRC plus just to see how he's doing comparatively speaking to other players in the league, and he's WRC Plus has been through the roof through most of his seasons except for his major league stint with San Diego. With the Mets this season, which obviously, that says something. He's in the majors. His numbers dipped significantly. I feel like his WRC Plus was above average for most of those years, and then it was way below average for San Diego. However, with the Mets this season, his WRC Plus is 110. So, you're hoping that he has some power there. You're hoping that he can create some runs. Definitely feeling optimistic that maybe this guy has some power and some abilities here that we, just haven't been able to observe from the casual eye, and obviously from someone who has, I'm not very familiar with his game, not trying to be disrespectful. It also seems like his walk percentage is pretty good, and hopefully this means that he has a pretty patient eye. His strikeout percentage doesn't track as being like a low strikeout guy, so maybe it isn't a very keen eye, but it's somebody that can work deep into a count and and lay off pitches when they aren't hittable, which is what this team needs. I've been saying, what this offense needs is just somebody that's not going to be swinging out of the zone and is going to wait for a pitch that they know they can do damage with. If that's kind of Ben Gamel's ideal, batter technique, that abilities, I should say, that would be great. I think he could be a really good fit if he can work some walks and hit for some extra bases and drive some runs in. Obviously, easier said than done. Let's see here. It seems like, he might already be a good pickup based off of his, one performance here, but the fact that we even picked Ben Gamel up in the first place makes me really nervous about Tucker coming back even after Labor Day. I mean, I could, I can't be wrong here. Ben Gamel, might be, just like they're like, we just need him for a week, but we need him. But I guess I'm just nervous because Tucker has been gone for so long. I just am nervous that he's not coming back. Obviously, pardon me. But obviously, there's nothing that I know. There's no source I have that tells me that. There's nothing that's been said that makes me infer that. I'm just nervous as a fan, I guess. With the way the Astros, sorry, with the way the Astros have done this season with injuries and with luck, I'm just like, please come back soon, Tucker. I think another thing we wanted to talk about on this podcast is Bregman. Obviously, Alex Bregman, they were hesitant to get him back into the lineup in the Boston Red Sox series. So obviously, it wasn't just him sleeping. Well, it could be him just sleeping on it wrong. I truly don't know. I'm just saying that the light injury of him being gone for just 3 games during the White Sox series carried over into the Red Sox series. He started that 3rd game. Bregman is back. He is DHing, and it looks like the team is saying that he's not likely going to be playing a lot of games at third base for the rest of the season. So that's definitely some really bad news there in terms of his throwing shoulder. His right arm was the arm that he slept on weird, the arm that has some inflammation. So if he is incapable of playing third base on an everyday basis, what does that mean for the Astros? Obviously you hear news like that, you feel immediate panic. But fret not, this might be a little bit of a blessing in disguise. Now, I say that with a huge grain of rice. I don't think Bregman being injured is good. I just think that if the team is going to play him at first base like they're saying they're going to do tomorrow, like the fact that they want Bregman's hitting in there, but they need to find a way to not just have him DH, to have him play first base seems like an amazing decision. Bregman is so good at third base. If he just has to be there at first, field a couple balls from every now and then, and just catch and play some defense, I think Bregman would be a pretty darn good first baseman if he feels comfortable in that role. Obviously, will save his arm. It will open up that DH spot so that Yainer Diaz can DH when Victor Caratini is catching. It keeps that DH spot open for Yordan Alvarez, so Yordan doesn't have to play left field all the time, and it keeps that DH spot open for John Singleton, or maybe Shea Whitcomb, Zach DeZenzo. I feel like having Bregman just always automatically slot into the DH spot would not be what the Astros need when they're looking for extra power. So the fact that Bregman could potentially play first base is an amazing sign, because I don't think Bregman would play first base if he was just completely healthy. The Astros right now are obviously looking for some signs of life when it comes to power at first base. I love John Singleton. I truly think that the Astros could have rocked with John Singleton a little longer if John Singleton didn't have that little dip in production there. I hope that we get to see more Big John in the lineup here. I feel like you have to trust that they know what they're seeing there, that they know that I think they feel that John Singleton's kind of out of gas for the season a bit, and they're trying to get him to recharge. I would like to see more John Singleton. So we're, at least here at the podcast here, we are hoping to see more John. But Bregman at first is a good thing for this team right now. If Bregman and John Singleton are platooning at first, and Shea Whitcomb and Mauricio Dubon are platooning with Bregman at third until I seriously think that by the playoffs, most likely Dubon is going to be the one that would get most starts at third if the Astros, continue to be successful and get into the playoffs. But maybe Shea Whitcomb or Zach DeCenzo really are going to find that rookie spark to lead this team to have a big offense and to have some slugging. We don't know, but either way you cut it, Bregman playing first base, I think, is going to be a huge advantage to the Houston Astros offensively. Now, defensively, I do think this might be a little bit of an issue. I think Dubon, is who I would play there at third because I haven't, Shea Whitcomb does look good at third, but overall, I've liked what I've seen from Dubon as a third baseman. This is kind of the time when, all season, people have been talking about Alex Bregman and his defense and how the Astros are going to really miss Alex Bregman's defense more than anything if Bregman walks. There's been a lot of fans out there that are willing to tell you everything they feel about Alex Bregman and free agency. Crane is cheap. We should let Bregman walk. Bregman's getting old. There's a wide variety of opinions floating out there about Bregman. I truly think that a defensive third baseman like Bregman, a clubhouse leader like Bregman, a guy that can be offensively powerful like Bregman is, and generally puts together a good offensive season, that guy's going to be really expensive. I'm not saying I don't want him on my team. I'm just saying he's going to be expensive, and we're going to have to see if the Astros have the money or the desire to go over a certain tax bracket to sign Bregman. I don't think it's a thing of desire. I think it's truly a thing of whether or not Bregman's agent is going to, accept Houston's offer. I think Houston's going to come with a pretty decent offer. I don't know if it's going to be very competitive for what Bregman and his agent are looking for, but if it's nowhere near that offer, he's going to test free agency. And Bregman, with all those things he has going for him, that offer, that minimum offer that he is going to accept is going to be very high. So, it's just the reality of the situation. It's not whether I think, Crane is cheap or Bregman is greedy. These narratives and this black and white storytelling in sports media, really is silly. I think Bregman, I'd love to have him on the team, but the fact of the matter is that it is a business, and we will have to see what the Astros offer, and that's just a starting point. I think Bregman. Bregman's defense is really one of his strongest suits. It's one of the things that you're going to miss on this team. So Bregman having an injury, you really are missing that defensive arm, but somehow you're kind of keeping him offensively on the team. So we'll see who can pick up that slack there. But I am hopeful that this can mean good things for the Astros. But goodness gracious, can this team stop carrying injuries? Oh my, Carla is making little ghost noises behind me. It's okay. She just kind of scared me. It's late night with Space Cadet here. I guess I thought it was a ghost. One last thing to touch on, I guess, before we wrap up the podcast real quick, as Carla's being a good girl and wants me to talk a little bit more. Fangraphs today also had an interview with Taylor Scott. Definitely go check that out if you're a Taylor Scott fan. Going into this year, this podcaster at least was saying how the flaw on this team was the middle relief. Truly, what a fool. Somehow the middle relief of this team has been the anchor on this team, as the starters couldn't find health, and the back end of the bullpen had struggled out of the gate to live up to the incredibly high bar set by us, at the beginning of the year, truly, but the back end of the bullpen definitely struggled. So it's really weird that the middle of the bullpen was really a strength for so long and continues to be that we lean on as a team. I think, I think I just realized that it deleted some of my notes here. It's okay. I remember what it said. Don't worry a thing. But, the Fangraphs article here, it's really talking about how his four-seam fastball is the key to his success with the Houston Astros this season, being encouraged to go back to using his best pitch that he hadn't been using for so long because of a lower velocity point. Also, he spoke to his kind of philosophy there to being okay with missing as long as it's a good miss. And I think that's something that a lot of the Astros pitchers do fairly well if you miss outside, don't miss over the middle of the plate, don't miss in a sweet spot for a hitter. If you're gonna miss, like with his four seamer, if he's gonna miss, he misses high, and that kind of confidence helps throwing more competitive pitches and helps the Astros, honestly, just have less walks and more strikeouts with people that might not, or pitchers that might not have whiff inducing type pitches generally. Another thing that we wanted to mention here before we wrapped up the podcast is our good old boy, Heart Attack Hector Neris, who in the last podcast I mentioned I did not see the Astros picking up. Well, folks, once again, I was wrong. That's why you keep those receipts. It does seem like Heart Attack Hector is bound for Houston. Brian McTaggart says sources have told him that he is coming in to join the team. There has been no official news yet from the Houston Astros. There's been no roster move said with it. So we don't know officially if that's happening, but, Brian McTaggart doesn't steer us wrong very frequently, so it does seem like Hector Neris is coming back. Who knows who might be sent down for that? I think Seth Martinez is probably going right back down with Caleb Ort coming back. That could be maybe Sean Dubin that goes down, even though he can give you multiple innings. And I'm saying that that's what the Astros are looking for. Maybe Caleb Ort and Taylor Scott have also been guys that give you multiple innings. So maybe at this point in the season, Sean Dubin isn't your only long relief arm in the pen. So maybe I feel like maybe he's the one that will go down for this. Also, I could be wrong. I feel like Seth Martinez had a really good season and was really just sent back down for fatigue. At the time he was sent down to the minors, he was like third in the league in innings pitched, and was having a good season. So I'm really not sure how this bullpen shakes out right now. I'm saying that it's going to be Martinez and Dubin sent down. Let me know what you think. And the last bit of news that we're going to talk about on the podcast today is Scott Servais. Scott Servais, thank you for your service. He has lost his job as a manager of the Seattle Mariners, while the Astros lost a series against the Red Sox. While it hasn't all been just win, it's just been winning 7 out of 10 times, like the Astros fans, we can be really greedy about our wins and our success. But meanwhile, we look over the pond, the Texas Rangers don't look like they're going to come to the playoffs, and the Seattle Mariners are back at 500 and have fired their manager. I feel like a lot of fans in Seattle must be pretty happy about this right now. I feel like their team floundering, their team losing that 10-point lead in the American West, and their playoff chances dwindling day by day. It seems like there was a time for a shakeup, and they're ready for a shakeup. What happens on the end of this year for the Seattle Mariners remains to be seen. Sadly, I've taken my shots at them, all season long. I've also, quoted other writers who have said that they're a mediocre team. I really think that the Mariners, their offense might not be great, but their pitching is so exceptional. We can't just completely write them off. The Astros will have to put their pedal to the metal and keep winning and not worry about the rearview mirror now. Now's the time to just keep winning. Now's the time to not worry about any other team but yourself, and it would be nice for them to just run away with the division here as the Mariners try to find some focus and try to save their season before it's too late. So we'll see what happens. Personally, I am glad that Scott Servais is gone. The guy was a bit of a knucklehead for me. He definitely was a huge Astros hater, despite the fact that he was an Astros catcher. He advocated for violence and throwing against the Astros and just said a bunch of silly stuff that I was like, that dude's not a good dude. I don't like that guy. So I'm glad Scott Servais is gone. We'll see how the new manager, Dave Wilson, does. But good riddance, Scott Servais. Glad you're gone. We'll see how the Mariners do. But I have to say, if I was a Mariners fan, I would definitely be talking myself into this. But deep in my heart, I would know that perhaps this is going to be a tough end of this year. The national media has been throwing shade at this team all season long, and now that they're winning games in prime time against a ace pitcher with our rookie pitcher, now that the Mariners are at 500 and the World Series, the last year's World Series champion can't even sniff 500, everyone's starting to talk about the Astros again, and there's not as much shade being thrown about the Astros. Now they talk about the Astros with fear in their hearts and use the words inevitable and consistency, and they talk about their ALCSs and their World Series and playoff appearances. All that hate is dwindling away, and now it is melting into fear. This is something that happens every August for the Houston Astros. All of that hate and all of that bitterness and all of the laughing about how the Houston Astros aren't going to have a good season slowly dwindles away, and all that remains is fear. Oh no, are the Astros still good? And oh no, are they coming for my team next? You love to see it as an Astros fan. You love this part of the season. This is what I was telling people in April, not to panic. Or this is why I was telling people not to panic in April. I was like, just wait till the end of summer. The season's long, and once again, the Astros have, at least to this point of the season, proved me right that this team was bound for a bounce back. We just have to hope that this team continues to do well. They continue to pitch out of their minds, and they find ways to score, and they just stop looking in the rearview mirror, because the rest of the AL West doesn't need to be thought about right now if the Astros can just keep winning series. So let's hope that they keep doing that. We have 3 more games against Baltimore and plenty of games left in this season, so it's not time to count our chickens. At this point, folks, we'd like to wrap up this podcast for you. So thank you so much for listening to the Space Cadet Sports Podcast tonight, late night with Space Cadet. We very much appreciate it. Wherever you are listening to this podcast on, please give us a 5-star review. Smash those buttons. Give us a like. Give us a subscribe. Download those episodes automatically. Hit all the buttons except for delete or can't close. Share us with other diehard Astros fans out there that would appreciate a diehard Astros podcast. Let them know that we exist. Let them be a space cadet by sharing it with them. I would also like to remind you about the Substack. This podcast is hosted out of the Substack. Go ahead. This was going to be an article, and it ended up being a podcast. But you can go to the Substack at spacecadetsports.substack.com. Put in your email address there, and you get every post, every article, every podcast that was going to be an article, and every meme dump that I share on the Substack to your email box for free. Or if you're more like me, get the app. You just click a button there, find Space Cadet Sports, hit subscribe. Click that you don't want emails, you just want notifications, and now you have a nice little iPad or iPhone or phone app, and you're subscribed right through there. You don't have to bother with emails. You just get the notifications so you don't miss a single post. Definitely give that a look. Give me a follow. Give me a like. If you want to let me know what you think of the bullpen, you want to send me some comments on social media, you think you know who's going down, you have the secret sauce, maybe you're the Astros source, hit me up on social media at Paul Salazar JR on all social media platforms. I'll get back to you on all the cool ones, at least that I'm active on. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast. Please like and share. We really do appreciate it. Remember to do your best out there. Be the best that you can be. Keep your head up, son. And as always, vamos Astros.